Okay, this evening we have a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan. So if anyone would like to speak on that topic, feel free to come to the podium and say your name and say what you'd like to say. We'll keep this open for the next 12 minutes or so, and at 6 o'clock we'll start our regular meeting.
12 minutes of silence? I emailed you that. I emailed you that. I think we can. That's okay. Yeah.
On our laptop gonna change? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't care.
Good,
Okie dokie.
yeah. We'll talk about it after, but yes, yeah, yeah.
Did not intend to bring the microphone.
I should have let you know that. Sorry about that, yeah.
Just the RCS
Business
logo?
logo. RCS one.
Yeah,
Yes, usually, yeah.
yeah, you'll see it kind of get built out through those days, yeah. Yeah.
Anytime you'd
Right.
like to.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Seems a little heavy right now. It's Mike's.
Uh-oh.
I just didn't know how to get this one.
Are these on?
Yeah.
Hey, just so everybody knows,
Hey,
these
Mel.
microphones are on.
Mel.
You can mute them by pushing the mute button
Oh,
on them.
just Brian.
Yeah, I always, so that.
All right, 6 o'clock on August 7th, we'll call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, all additions are reflected in Board Docs agenda, correct, Sue? Yes. Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the 3 previous meetings, 3-4 through 3-6?
Motion approved.
Motion for all? Ed, second. Jenny, all in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move right into the spring sports presentation. Jen, please come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having an enjoyable summer. Thank you for your time to present this evening. Again, we will do a brief overview of the spring sports season, going through the slides. You already have the presentation, so I'll move quickly. And we'll also discuss some end-of-year highlights that I wanted to mention as well. I also wanted to thank Michelle Conti for her help with the spring sports article that we also posted on the website, which includes a little bit more detailed information as well. We had 191 student athletes participate this spring. Our 4 typical sports were offered with baseball, softball, outdoor track and field, as well as boys tennis. And we had 10 total teams this spring. We will start with varsity baseball. As you can see, a large senior group this year, not only a large group of very talented and just a really nice group of students. I wanted to highlight Jack McFerrin with his first team all-star selection, again for Colonial Council. And along with this, those students that are first team selection also get invited to the Section 2 Baseball All-Star Banquet. So congratulations to Jack. Varsity softball. The girls qualified as a NISFA Scholar Athlete team, meaning 75% of their roster had an average of 90 above through the season. I also wanted to mention Mackenzie Cross. It's a very stringent process for being selected for All-Stars, and for her to receive honorable mention as a sophomore is a very big accomplishment. So I wanted to congratulate Mackenzie. Boys varsity tennis. Just a quick mention, under the direction of head coach Bob Schumann, our new coach this year with the boys program, he organized an event for Earth Day. So the students gathered over 200 tennis balls to be recycled to keep tennis balls from going into a landfill. So I never heard of that project before. They go to recycledballs.org. So that was a nice initiative that the boys did this spring season. Girls varsity outdoor track and field. We saw increased participation numbers with track this year, both for boys and girls. Obviously, a lot of students participate in this sport, so I wanted to shout out Aubrey Medow for her Colonial Council All-Star selection. Boys varsity outdoor track and field. Again, a lot of events participated in this spring, and Mason Brzezowski was selected for All-Stars. Again, what I like about the spring recognition, we kind of do some end-of-year wrap-up events and additional recognition. Again, this year, the Colonial Council, our league, hosted the Sportsmanship Summit. The students from all Colonial Council schools are nominated by their coaches, so I wanted to highlight our students that were nominated by their coaches this year. The event has been held at Thatcher Park, so it's a great day for the kids to get out, socialize with other students from other schools in our league. Yes. Yep. The students were also able to see a guest speaker who discussed mental health and how that coordinates with physical performance, and the students really got a lot out of it. We try to have a beneficial guest speaker every year. We had our high school athletics awards night. This was a well-attended event. Again, we had dinner in the cafeteria and the presentation in the auditorium. I wanted to congratulate all of our award winners again this year. I'd also like to thank Dr. Bailey for his support with this event, Mr. Miller for his assistance on stage with the awards, as well as Brady Warner, one of our students, helped with the tech kind of behind the scenes, so I wanted to thank Brady for his help with that. We had our collegiate signing day event. I know the font is very small, but I think that's a good thing because we had so many students kind of going on to the next level for college athletics. It was a great day, last day of classes, and the kids had a lot of fun. I wanted to thank the Ravenna News Herald and News 10 for covering our event. Additional recognition that happened throughout the year, sort of after the season. Again, another shout out for Jack McFerrin. He was selected as Class B Scholar Athlete of the Year for football by the New York State High School Football Coaches Association, as well as Scholar Athlete Award by the Capital District Chapter of the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame. So tremendous accolades for Jack. Coach Kyle Carney, he was selected for Section 2, Division II Boys Varsity Swimming and Diving Coach of the Year. So I wanted to congratulate Kyle and everything he does for our student athletes, as well as our community in the aquatics director role. So not only does he do a lot for boys swimming, but swimming for the community, as well as making sure we're off the ground for girls swimming in the fall. So congratulations to Kyle. We kind of just wanted to revisit some of the goals that we had set out when I had started in this position. So some of these goals are completed goals or continued goals since I started in 2022. I really take pride in the day-to-day goals of continuing to build relationships with students and staff, just being able to see the students in their element. It's why I do this work. It's why I love this work. I just try to do everything to make sure the students have a positive experience with athletics here at RCS. Yes,
Slide.
sure.
Evaluate and update. What is that in reference to?
Sorry.
I said it's like you're missing it now.
Oh,
Evaluating the.
oh, sorry, I think that was missing a semicolon there, or a comma. Just basically everything underneath that with
Okay.
working with Seth and HR, revamping sort of the chaperones, how faculty and staff sign up for that. Still doing the seasonal coaches meeting, bringing that back in person. Just trying to identify the timeliness of all the events that we have, making sure we're staying on schedule. And then obviously that big project with the uniforms, with the rebranding. These are just some ongoing goals or goals I continue to work towards with our programming. know, some of our smaller teams, such as cross-country and boys tennis, we have increased numbers with those sports. And I definitely attribute that to definitely our coaches that are involved. We have some amazing adults working with our kids. We're looking towards more opportunities. I think I mentioned before with our students with differences, students with disabilities. I know we want to work more with Special Olympics New York. For unified physical education, we're trying to bump those numbers for our PE classes as well as for athletic teams for those students as well. So we're looking at possibilities with unified bowling, unified basketball, and there's a couple other options that they're adding more sports for our unified students. So that's something I want to spend more time exploring. And
Increase the community partnership with youth sports organizations? Or is that, like, what is your plan to work towards that?
that's just ongoing and continued, so anytime a request comes in for facilities, I just want to try to work with our own department to try to accommodate wherever possible. A lot with soccer, with basketball, anything to try to help our youth programs that help support, obviously, our athletic programs, our PE programs when they get older in school. So sometimes there's change in leadership there. I try to get to know the new person, work with them, see what their needs are. Those things. I also did want to revisit the idea for merge programs. I know we talked specifically about swimming for boys and girls. At this time, the districts that we were interested in merging with for girls swimming decided that they already had too many fall sports and they weren't really looking to add additional. So we are not going to move forward at this time for merge swimming programs for girls, but we are continuing to visit the idea for boys swimming in the winter with Greenville. So it's just a lot of opportunities for girls, and we want to try, they just decided this year wasn't the right year, so we want to try to revisit that at a later date, and we're going to continue to look at boys swim for this winter.
Is there a timeline if you're merging teams? I know I anticipate there's a smaller number of girls looking to do modified soccer than there were in past years. But once the season starts, you can't merge. Like, I didn't know if there was a timeline for when you make those decisions.
Right, Section 2 has deadlines for a merged program. So for example, for winter sports is September 1st.
So if there isn't enough interest, there's no team?
We would have to combine teams, have less teams, but if numbers are low, we'll do whatever we can to try to recruit within and try to get those numbers there. And sometimes students switch sports. So maybe they try one sport, it doesn't work out, they move to another sport, which definitely helps and has happened. So again, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions and any additional questions you may have. Yes,
Thank you for that. Seems like it was well prepared.
thank you.
We reached out about bringing in some basketball camps here at Ravena,
Yes.
but the rates seem out of reach. Is there any flexibility, anything that we can do in the future? It was $100 an hour for the gym, and some of the programs out there, it's just way too much. Nobody could afford it.
Charging if it was beneficial to the students within our district.
Out-of-district trainer, if you're in district, it's $0, but if you're out of district, it's
But is the
$100
trainer
an hour.
But is the trainer providing services for our students?
It'd be for anybody. We wanted to hold some mini camps here at Ravena, and we reached out, and it was just exorbitant. It was just too much.
I don't think you should be charged if it's benefiting our students. That's my understanding of how that was working.
Around this, that anything that engages our students and benefits our community, it meets the criteria for in-district usage. The cost scale was only intended for, like, a Bethlehem team wants to come down here and use our pool because they don't have one or theirs isn't available. That's what it was intended for. It's not intended to preempt our students from being able to have access to our facilities.
But you're saying that it did.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, they reached out, and
What was the timeframe, Marcus? When was that?
I think this summer.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
I don't know how they proposed it, but we would certainly entertain.
Yeah, I
To
mean, we're
hear
working
more
on-
about what it is that they need and who's gonna be at the table. But, yeah, our philosophy is inclusive. It's not, in order to, we're not putting a fence up. We're trying to be inclusive with our students. I mean, we didn't set a hard number at like, it has to be 51.5%. But we recognize that if it's 50% of our students, then it's our students.
Okay.
Did the camp end up happening elsewhere, or?
No. She runs her own camp at her own, she has a gym. And, we wanted to bring a basketball camp here for anybody, specifically our kids, Ravena kids. But it was presented that it was $100 an hour to rent the gym. $800 a day, it's.
The other thing, Dan, that could have come to pass is if it's a for-profit company, that sometimes muddies the water too. YMCA and Little League and Pop Warner, they all have nonprofit or not-for-profit status. It's a lot easier to say, they're not coming in to use our facility to make money off our children. They're here to,
So is it?
they do charge, but.
Is something you think we can revisit? I'll certainly bring it back up and then we'll go down that road maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to reiterate too that I know that organizations have reached out in regard to using the facilities for their tournaments, maybe is the proper term. And to reiterate, who should they should be reaching out to Jen? What's a reasonable time frame for them to expect response so that they can move forward with plans or to alter it?
If they're.
Like, how far in advance should they be asking is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
A season in advance. Because Jen has, the schedule for the fall sports is basically already solidified within the section. So it would need to be a season in advance to be more sure that they could work around it. So that's, figure 3 to 4 months.
Is it possible, perhaps, like with these things, to maybe create, I don't know, like a Google form or something that asks these specific questions so that, for instance, in the situation Dan was talking about, that it is clear if these are to benefit our students, to ask those questions up front so that you have all the information that you need to evaluate it, or rather you do, Jen, sorry, not necessarily Brian, but so that you have all that information up front. If there's criteria that we need to know, like approximately how many kids will be involved, how many kids do you expect to be from RCS district, or are they going to be from another district? But just those basic questions that can kind of figure out where this lands maybe a little bit easier, because I assume that in a situation like that, you don't necessarily know the criteria that you need to specifically say. And I mean, maybe I'm only making assumptions as to what happened in that particular situation, but maybe it just wasn't clear enough that it would be benefiting our students. So maybe if we can set it up in a way, and that Google form can also tell them, like the deadline for spring sports is whatever date you want that cutoff to be, and anything after that we can't consider because of scheduling, but perhaps that's a way to like streamline this and make sure that you have the information and that there's not miscommunication happening with community members or other people who are maybe trying to get into this. It might be an easier way to make sure you have all the relevant information.
We're working right now on new procedures and a new form that fills out a lot of those questions.
Perfect.
So they'll be available.
Building use in general?
Yes, for building use in general, yes.
That's great.
Actually,
Thank you.
I probably misspoke. The first stop for building use is usually Sue. And
So organizations should contact
So
Sue first?
no, so generally it depends on what it's for, so.
athletics.
Athletics, it usually goes through Jen, yeah.
Just
But we're
So-
working on a little
right.
better procedure and write it out so people are not confused on where to go when they need to go.
Sure, and if there's a
Ask
form, it
questions.
can also make it easier for it to be fed to the right person and not end up in the
Yep,
wrong place
absolutely.
and not get an answer. That's great, thank
But
you.
if you ever need any clarification on that, feel free to reach out to any of the 3 district leaders. If you were confused or want some more information, we're more than happy to answer those questions as well.
And again, I'll just, restate it that it obviously was, for, the Ravena kids, right? Number one, we're Ravena.
Yeah,
There's a few people coming, but it's, to improve our teams. So,
Well, the children who are participating now will play for the school ultimately, so anything you can do to provide them with encouragement younger would increase participation in the future, would be my view.
I think if it's an outside group, I do send, I'll typically send them the building use form as well as the rates, and it's sort of, if Sue gets something, if it's athletics related, she'll send it to me. If it's a group I'm not sure should be billed, I'll send it to Sue. So I think the initial dates for the camp, I think couldn't work out, but I think I can reach back out to her and we can revisit that for a later date. And just about the forms, like Jesse said, we're working on, a Google form or to streamline the process of who's supposed to reach out, certain steps. We just do the best we can right now to kind of keep everybody in the loop, but I'm happy to continue to work on that to improve that process. Thank you. Yes.
This week, somebody shared a public post from the athletic director of a nearby school district, expressing a lot of concern that they were very, very short on student athletes heading into this year, and there's a number of teams that they're not going to be able to field, and articulating all the reasons why youth sports and high school sports are important for students, all the benefits. Where do we stand heading into the fall sports? Are we in danger of not being able to field any of the teams that we anticipate having?
So initially, I think it takes a while in the summer to try to get those kids out, to get them registered for sports. I know tomorrow evening we have our fall coaches meeting, so I'll be reiterating to the coaches that registration's open, do whatever you can. I can work with Michelle Conti, we can push out an article if registration numbers seem to be low to try to remind families to do so. And I can connect with their youth sports folks that I work with. We'll do whatever we can to get our numbers up. I think we are in a really good space compared to some other schools. But because I think some people just tend to wait a little bit, they're on vacation, so fall, in the summer, registration can be a little tough, but we'll do whatever we can to field as many teams as possible.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, as long as you got an eye on it and you got plans before the school year starts to recruit if needed.
Definitely.
Just because families may not realize that the team they're planning to have their child play for is at risk of not being a team.
Right.
And if they know that, they can drive some more participation probably. So the more we can do on communication on that, the better.
Definitely. We keep our eyes on Family ID. The coaches have access to know what students have registered, and that's what's so great about our coaches. They have those relationships, and they'll reach out to families to say, hey, I noticed you haven't signed up yet. Our nurses are wonderful in the summer, checking kids in, making sure they're cleared for tryouts. We just try to keep all those pieces moving to really get all those kids out there ready to go by football the 19th, and then JV and varsity, the rest of the sports on the 26th of August.
All right, great, thank you.
The soccer coach was very proactive. She created a classroom for the students that she knew would be incoming and then pushed out information about signing up on the Family ID and stuff, so.
Especially for
Any support to get the
modified
kids out.
sports, please contact us. We will share out anything always.
Thank you very much.
And I mean, to that end as well, I know the PTSO is very good about sharing things on every social media group that there exists, but perhaps that's also something the district could share on the page, just a reminder of, fall sports registrations. I mean, even a simple post like, plenty of people in the summer may not be paying attention to their email, but are paying attention to their social media.
And those things we kind of anticipate, and we try to keep pushing it out. I know Michelle helped me with the initial registration article for fall sports, so we'll keep that in, make sure kids are coming out. And thank you for your support.
Perfect.
Puts out those posts, we can just share those, so we can always be directing people back to the district. So just let us know when we need to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Let's move into business considerations. We have 6-1 through 6-23 tonight. Is there a motion for one or more?
Through 23.
Okay, Jenny, second. Dan? Any discussion? Sure.
On 6-7 and 6-8, have there been any changes to the after-school ASAP programs? No changes to those contracts, same as we've always done?
No. What our intention is to, because they're not certified, the same type of certification. We recognize that it would be beneficial to all of our community members to have the broadest range of ages able to be part of those programs. So we're going to talk to both of them about enrollment and certification to see if, especially going to a full-day UPK program, families are more likely to enroll their children and sometimes they need the before and after care, and they can't get it at both buildings. So we are going to have a conversation going into next year.
Okay. Can you just give a brief distinguishing, I guess, between on 610, why we would have a CPA for us in that position, and contrast that with, say, our internal claims auditor?
So Tiffany Morris has been with the district for maybe 15 years, a real long time.
Right.
18 years, thank you, Sue. So Tiffany has a lot of the history. She helps greatly with the audits and with the year-end financials. She helps with grant applications and grant management. She also a valuable insight for future financial projections. I bounce a lot of things off of her. That no offense to these guys, it's just not their field. But I sit with her quite often and discuss, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
All right. So that's, and then how's that compare then to the internal claims? Totally different things.
That's a
right?
totally different position.
That's just a.
She's actually, I believe she's the deputy claims auditor, but we have a former business administrator from a different district that
Right.
does our claims audit.
Right. But I guess I'm just, for the public to understand, I guess, a little bit too. I mean, I think I have a good idea of it. Haven't been around, but just so people understand, like, why do we have all these different positions if we have a business administrator?
Yeah.
So one is, I'm saying the internal claims auditor is just to verify things are going correctly, right?
Yeah,
Outside
so
person,
claims auditor,
independent?
actually, their job is really to kind of sit in for you guys. So they actually go through every single check and make sure that what is on that check is appropriate. And that's why you'll see these claims reports come out basically monthly, and you'll see, hey, all these checks were good, this check we had to do a change on it, or we had a leading PO or something like that. That's what a claims auditor does.
And the key is that they're independent.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's somebody not that's in-house.
Absolutely,
But
yep.
in her position, you were bouncing around in the CPA position, I forget what we exactly call it, but that's more of a, she's a consultant, but she's not independent of the district. She's working
She's working for us, yes.
for us, right? So it's a
That's
little different,
correct.
okay? All right. I didn't put the numbers down, sorry. The SRO agreement, 6.14. The number cited in there, is that for both?
Both.
So that's a combination of both, right? Okay, I assume so, but I just wanted to be clear.
Yep.
All right?
Want to bring up just one point on that one. I just want to make sure that the updated version of the Albany County Sheriff's agreement is going to also be copied into the district-wide safety plan, because it wasn't this version that's in the district-wide safety plan.
Right, the order in which we received them.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that whatever is the current version, in case there's any other small edits. I only noticed one thing that was different between them, but I just wanted to make sure that gets updated. Thank you. And then I'll give it back to Matt for whatever else he had.
Yes, okay. I think that's it for those. I'll have more later.
I got
Oh,
one.
no, I do have another one too. Go ahead, go.
6.9. Is the diesel fuel agreement offered to Ravena Fire Company and the Coeymans-Selkirk Fire Company?
I believe it's just the Coeymans.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a long-standing agreement with them, and we just updated it about a year ago. But this is it's a yearly update.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know, Dan, why there would be an inclusion or an exclusion, though, from other agencies. I don't know.
Right, I would have no problem doing it with others if they
Yeah,
approached us, but right
more
now,
out of curiosity, because
Coeymans is the only one that's approached us
if
with
we have,
it. So.
some sort of an event, all three of them will be here. So when I read through them, it stuck out. I'm like, geez, I wonder why the other two.
Yeah,
Not sure.
But
we're open, definitely open to it.
My recollection is that they're the ones that asked a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
That's really what it came down to.
And again, I don't know, Coeymans Hollow buys it from us.
Okay.
But I don't know the rates, 10 cents above your guys, so I don't know those rates, so I don't know if it's.
Yeah, so it's
beneficial or
just
not.
whatever we get,
Yeah.
whatever the market value is, basically what we pay for it,
Yep.
and we just add 10 cents
Okay.
on it for like a
Fair enough.
processing kind of fee.
And the last question I did have another one, sorry. 622. Consultant for, I am assuming, transitioning our new district data coordinator. Can we talk a little bit more? I have a little bit of a problem with that. So we're hiring somebody at a decent salary for a job, company to do the job. Now we're going to pay up to $10,600 for somebody that's not in our district, that doesn't know our district, as far as I can tell. We don't know anything, at least from what we were given, about their qualifications. to how they would help this person transition. So can you guys just tell me a little more about why we would want to do that? 622.
22, okay, I thought you
I
said
believe
2,
that's 22.
sorry.
That's the
Yeah,
district
okay,
data.
thank you.
Data
It's
consultant,
somebody to transition to data coordinator.
data coordinator.
Christina was our data coordinator from, March through last week. And she, with Carol leaving in December. So we went January, February, the beginning of March, with Jean learning an awful lot. What Christina was able to do is she's been working with the NERIC team on the transition from Synergy back to school tool. And she's almost the only person in district who has the understanding of what has been done and what hasn't. Not that our NERIC team doesn't. And quite frankly, the new person is starting at the end of August. The new data coordinator is starting at the end of August, and she'll be starting with no knowledge of what we're doing. The number of hours in that consulting agreement is a fail-safe. We don't expect her to be working here for 5 weeks. What we do expect, though, is and she's on vacation for another week, too. So in the last 2 weeks of summer, it is hit the pavement, everything's on fire, make sure everything is ready to go for staff and students. That's when Christina's going to be used the most. So she's going to be mentoring the new person and doing some of the actual work while the new person has no idea what she's doing yet.
Okay. And obviously I get the concept of having a transition person, especially in something like that. Theoretically, though, I would hope that, whoever we're hiring is competent enough to do the job. And I just felt the contract itself was vague. It doesn't really even say what their role is. So I'd like to see those things tightened up so we know exactly what our expectations of those people are.
A bullet list of the tasks that'll be
Yeah,
involved in it.
yeah. I mean, I right before I got, I think I wasn't at the first meeting this year, obviously, but we had a bunch of other ones. So I'll be questioning those a little bit more, just to be honest with you, because I think we need to do better with that. I think if we're hiring people, they should be able to do the job coming in. So I was going to pull this and actually do it separately, but I know that's definitely a different kind of position.
Fire.
So I won't, but
Yes.
I will support it this time, but I think I'm going to be asking a little, to be a little tighter in the future on these.
They are very generally written.
Do it?
All of them are very generally written. You're not wrong in that.
Yeah.
And we could have outlined more specific tasks for him.
Yeah, because this one really didn't say anything. Honestly, I wasn't even totally sure what it was.
Right,
And what's his
consultant,
transition?
certain
That
number
could,
of hours,
you could put in hours for anything in that. I'd love to have a contract like that too, but.
Right. Yeah.
I've got a list.
Yeah, but it's not in there, so she's not bound to it, or the person's not bound to it. But okay, thank you.
It doesn't seem like a lot of hours.
It is.
It is a lot,
It is. It's 200 hours, right? Five potential weeks.
but is it 180 days?
Well,
It's 5 weeks, potentially 5 weeks.
yeah, if they were to
10,000.
work continuously, it would be 5 weeks of work. But like I said, in these last 2 weeks of summer, we know it's going to be 2 weeks of work. The other person's coming on board in the last week of August, and they are learning our system. Well, they know school tool, but they'll be learning our school district. And quite frankly, we were speaking Portuguese for a year. We're coming back to English. Christina is the one who knows what has been done and what hasn't been done. That's why she's so crucial. But as I said, we don't anticipate her using all of those hours. It's just she knows what she's doing, so. What were you going to ask?
It could be.
Our use of Synergy for that time period versus school tools?
For the last 2 weeks, all of the data that we have to report to the state is being drawn out of Synergy, and it will impact accountability measures, all of our Title I money that we're allocated for, state aid. So those numbers, everything that comes out of Synergy has to be as accurate as possible.
Do we plan to stay with, would we have to do all that if we had put it in school tools? Like you're saying all the data has to be drawn out?
Yes,
It would have happened with school tools as well?
next year it'll come out of school tools.
Okay. This isn't something because
No,
we
no,
switched that we
once-
had to do. This is something we always
No,
have
no,
to
we
do
owe
at the end of
every
the
year,
year.
yeah.
Okay.
But we were in school tools, we switched to Synergy. I'm assuming
Right.
it didn't work out. It's the year I wasn't here, so we're going back. So just to use your analogy though,
Went
Brian.
great.
I just wasn't sure if that was a
but-
process that had to happen every year or if
No,
it
it's
was
just when you
exclusive to
switch
this.
the companies. But to use your analogy, Brian, I don't know that we were speaking English very well before, and it's definitely not Portuguese, it sounds like. So as we go into this one, hopefully we speak English better. My point being, the school tool has a lot of good functions if we use them and use them well, so hopefully with this transition and with the switchback, we'll actually use it the way it should be used?
We, the leaders were in a 2-hour training today with the folks from BOCES on reacclimating. Most of them have used school tool before, but reacclimating to it. And one of them said, quite frankly, this is like reading a children's book compared to what it was like using Synergy, which was like reading a calculus manual or something. So the usability and access for our staff is the reason that we came back.
Correct, correct. I'm talking about that end of it, though, like at the, who's ever in charge of it in the district kind of level of it, to make sure that the functionality is there, that when things need to get done and get updated, they get updated. We did have some comments with school tools in the past, at least we were told, right?
Right.
Hey, we want to change this. Oh, no, you can't do that. So that's not functional. You can't change that, report, let's say. So
Yeah.
just want to see us use it better.
We also, the transition process, we have people from BOCES who are helping us with that. They, part of their management of both Synergy and School Tool is helping us get back. And they're helping another neighboring school district go through the exact same process. So we actually got a little bit ahead of the other district. They started before us, but I think we're ahead now. So they're helping with those kinds of things as well to make sure that the usability is there and things are working the way they're supposed to.
Do we anticipate that it will be kind of ready to be on the ground running by the time school starts in this transition back to school tools?
It will be, and most of the data is there now. The one thing that we will be doing that will be a throwback to the good old days is, you remember opening a school 10 years ago, you got an 8.5 by 14 piece of paper with all of your data on it. Remember, you had to make any changes and then send it back to school with your child? That is really, we've racked our brains about it. That's the one definitive way to make sure that what we're saying is the right information, So we'll be seeing something going home to all families, asking them to send it back, correct phone numbers or email addresses or things on there that aren't quite right. We're hoping that things will all be right, but we want everyone to have a voice in it. Because we don't want to open and then have someone not get communication that they need, or we can't call them because the phone number's wrong. We'll still have access to Synergy going into September. It won't be active for staff, but we do have the ability, if someone doesn't return the form and the phone number in school tool is wrong, we still have access to the other system. So if it was right in there, we'll be able to call the person.
How long do you keep that carryover of being able to access that?
I think we're going to January now, December.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so a
we will-
reasonable period
Yeah, and
to
we'll-
be able to work that out.
We'll do what they call a data dump. They'll extract all the data and put it in PDF. So actually, historical data from this year, we
Perfect.
could pour through. if
So
we
there's
needed
no
to.
concern that something could be lost in there that we can't retrieve? Okay. Perfect, thank you.
I have 2 questions as well. Sorry, I don't know if anyone else has. I've asked this before and maybe I'm failing to understand, but why do we have dates for approval for IEPs going back to March? It seems a long period of time to have those sitting without approval. And do we have to approve them, or is that just something that we choose to do? Is there any issue with state compliance? Or, I'm looking at the ones and there's dates March, January, or March, February, and then all the way up until July. Why is that the case?
I know Colleen has answered that before, but I can get that information back to you.
She's over there. I know you've answered it before, but is there a reason why there's such a lag? I guess I'm having a mental block on it.
We'll find out for you and we'll let you know next time.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure, we do know the answer, but I can't remember what it is.
Do we have to approve these? And is there, which I don't mind, obviously, but it seems like a long period of time to pass from February till now.
She's sitting right here. What's the point of her sitting right here? Answer the question.
That's fine, I can wait.
Because this is a public meeting of the board, of us. And
So we couldn't go into executive session then to have her answer it and then come back out?
well, if you could find it,
That's not why.
It's not a reason to go to the next.
yeah, that's not a reason.
Well, then why is she sitting here and her deputy is sitting here? If you're going to require her to be here to answer questions that come up at the board meetings, why are we doing this?
We also had the agenda public since Monday, so we thought the questions could be asked ahead of time.
From the board members to the administration?
Trust, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike did send out an email asking folks to do that, to ask questions ahead of time if they could. Just to make it reasonable.
I do think that it serves to be discussed, though, because I think the public deserves to know what the answers to those questions are, too, if I ask ahead of time.
Oh, and we'd be able to answer them in public session, right?
You're saying ask so you can obtain the answer to provide at the meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be answered in private. It would be, because we would know it would be a question we'd ask in public, yeah.
I can't guarantee I won't have follow-up questions, though, based on the answers, and I don't know that I can go through all of those between Monday and Wednesday.
Right.
So,
Can I be clear on what your question is?
sure.
Jenny,
Absolutely.
frame it for me. What is the question?
Why is there a lag time between the meeting date and when it's presented to the board for approval?
Okay.
The meeting dates on some of these are February 29th, March 11th. It's August. It doesn't seem contemporaneous to me to have them so far apart. And maybe that's fine. I don't know.
Okay. That doesn't seem to me to be something that requires executive session to answer, right? Because that doesn't pertain to any individual student. That's a process question.
And yeah. I understand that it gets busy during annual review season. I understand, but
So if
this
somebody's
is
here
the
with an
area.
answer to the process question, then I think we should hear the answer.
Hello?
Okay.
But what if they weren't? Or what if they don't know the answer?
If they don't know the answer, that's fine. Is somebody here?
If they get
that
up
knows
and
the answer?
say, I'll get back to you, I don't have the answer with me.
We're trying to work on procedures.
We're saying,
trying to
we'll
work
get
on
back to you with this.
Yeah, but you got the administrator here.
I think that for a matter of clarity on getting questions ahead of time, if it's something that has to be researched or something like that, I can understand. But if it's a simple process question, she has answered it before, and it wasn't something that needed research, so there's a clarification. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to ask them for that answer. If she doesn't have the answer, that's fine. But like I think Jean said, she had answered it before, and maybe it's just we don't recall. So I don't see any harm in doing that.
I know I've asked it before. I'm sorry. I don't remember the answer. I apologize.
Just seems
for
like it's
not
more efficient if we're all here
remembering.
Right.
and the question is before us
Sorry.
and it's been asked before to answer it. Now, if there's an answer, if there's not, that's fine.
I was just wondering who we can and can't ask up. Because, again, if the person weren't here, you wouldn't be able to ask them. They are here, you would ask them, will we ask up members of the community questions? Who will we be including in calling up to ask questions of? That's what I'm trying to get specificity for.
But we've certainly had people that
I think
sat
we're
here
overcomplicating
before
this.
and
If
have
somebody's in the
come
room
answered
with
questions.
specialized knowledge who knows an answer to a question and they work for the district, then I think they should come to the podium and answer the question.
Colleen, are you comfortable coming up and just talking to us for a minute?
She's not gonna say anything.
Come on
She's
up,
gonna
Tom.
answer this to this guy. She's not gonna say anything.
I'm comfortable
See,
waiting for an answer.
she got the
Would it be
wave.
possible for us to ask
Now she
questions
can
ahead of
come.
time, though, even procedural ones? Because it'd be helpful. I mean, we want to be informative, and if she's not here, we want to be able to share the answers.
I encourage all questions in advance of the meeting. And I sent out that email. Please send questions before the meeting. However, if you have questions that occur to you during the meeting due to conversation that's happening,
Of course.
please ask those questions at the meeting. We're all here. We're all present. Let's address what's happening right now. Colleen, if you know the answer to the question, feel free.
I thought I answered it 2 weeks ago, so I do apologize if I was not clear in my explanation at that point. So to answer your questions of why there's a lag time when we hold the meeting, which is the date that you're seeing, and then when it goes through the Board of Education for approval. As I explained last time, we have annual reviews starting in February, and they span through typically middle of May. We run 350 annual reviews a year, and there's several people that run those meetings. There's a number of reasons why certain IEPs are not finalized. So the IEPs that you're approving right now are not going to be in effect until September. So for example, if we have a meeting in March 1st, there's still a few months of school left. We meet as a committee. Sometimes we can't make a finalized decision about a child's program. We want to give them more time. We want to we have a discussion and we say, well, why don't we implement this strategy and see if it works? Sometimes it also takes time for our teachers to finish the IEPs. Then my team has to go in and we had to finalize the documents. So there's a long process to it. There are certainly some IEPs that I can run a meeting and then the next week it's completely done and it's easy and it's straightforward. And I can finalize it, and those have gone through. There is a handful, but the volume of meetings that we process in a short 2-month period, as I mentioned before, we're often running meetings, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 days a week. So then the time it takes to finalize and ensure the compliance piece with those documents is really important. We don't want to finalize a document and then have to reopen, create a new document, do an amendment, send it through to you guys again for approval. So it is a tedious process, and there are multiple reasons why, from not having the time to do it and having to, prioritize our other responsibilities, or, just waiting on students to make the best decision possible for their programming. So there's many reasons.
Reiterate to make sure that I understand and don't have to ask this question again. So some of the ones that are in February, you're saying that potentially during the course of the meeting, you're discussing something else that would be implemented to see if it creates some other type of desired outcome that would alter the IEP. So you may be waiting to determine if that works, or the teacher needs to finalize certain aspects of it.
Absolutely.
And that would cause a lag time, whereas some meetings are very cut and dry. The services are going to be the services. Once it's approved, it can go through your department for finalization.
Absolutely.
So generally speaking, those ones that are lagging could be more complicated
Or we're
and
waiting
require.
to see, like, for sometimes our special education teachers with goals or related service providers, like I said, it's not just one factor, there's multiple factors. As you know, the IEPs are very complex. So sometimes it's programming, sometimes it's counseling services, sometimes it's, we implemented a behavior intervention plan, are they gonna need that next year? So there's a lot of things that go into it. I'd say like most of them, 50% are straightforward, but other ones we wanna make sure we're doing what's best for our students.
And in order for it to be finalized, it has to come through your department for
We as chair
finalization.
will have a process of reviewing it to ensure that from a compliance standpoint, that we have fulfilled what Part 200 requires within our IEPs. We're checked yearly from state ed on certain aspects of our IEPs.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a process. We need to make sure, the frequency is right and the location is
yeah,
right.
okay.
And just everything's done well.
So I think, just for clarity, so the meeting date that we're seeing on here is really just a step in the process. It's not necessarily like when you made a decision, which I think is what's maybe making it less clear.
Sometimes
So there's
we can.
other,
So a lot,
it's like part of it.
typically, like a lot of our self-contained program annual reviews are run in February or March because those students are a little bit more consistent with their programming. And we know, the teachers know them very well and know what their needs are, but there's some students in general education programs, we're like, wow, do they need the support next year, do they not? We want to give them some extra time. So again, it's really dependent on each individual student.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for others. Is this something that is always in a board's decision-making process and approval?
So it's a compliance requirement and a mandate for students to have their services.
Okay.
So I would say yes.
So there's no compliance issue with us approving something that the meeting occurred in February for?
No, because the document that we're talking about is not, it's a September
It's for a
document.
September start date?
Correct.
Okay.
We would never be, you're not going to see what you're approving today is not something that should have been in effect last school year. So all our meetings, you're approving IEPs for next school year at this point. Or we have some students in, summer programming that we might have to come to a program review or an amendment, so you might see some of those come through right now, and those are active IEPs. If you ever want any clarification, I'm happy to, please call me or reach out to Dr. Bailey. I'm happy to provide more clarification.
I will remember the answer now, thank you.
And if you don't, we can go back to the tape.
Yes, I will.
And we can watch it. Thank you for that very comprehensive answer.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Colin. I have one more question. Does anybody else have anything? All right, just on 623, the third-party professional services. So are these in relation to the capital project?
Yep.
The paving project and?
Yeah, so we really wanted to get this on because we're trying to do these guys would do the ground testing when we do the pavement for A.W. Becker that we want to get done as soon as possible. So that's why that's on tonight.
Okay,
It's also the asbestos testing as well.
okay. Were these part of the original cost proposals and cost?
Yeah,
were
they're
these included?
incidentals. They're in the incidentals.
Okay, so the incidental budget is a certain percentage of the project?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we still have a comfortable margin? of
Yes,
incidentals left?
absolutely. Yep, yeah, it hasn't even got into that 300,000 that we were,
Yeah.
you know, kind of above at this point.
Okay,
So this is an additional, this has been accounted for.
yeah, okay.
So follow up to that, and
Yeah.
maybe you want to answer them later, that's fine. I did have 2 questions on it, but I sort of skipped them for later, about the abatement necessary for the UVs in the high school and the middle school windows, we're replacing those. Again, I'm stepping into this late, so I apologize. Middle school windows are all being replaced, the ones that we did in 2004?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right,
We
so that's a
did-
question I'll just ask you guys.
Yeah,
to find out.
maybe it's a good question for the Building and Grounds Committee meeting.
Okay.
Because I don't have the history on that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
All right, I'll save those for later, I'll send them to Dr. Bailey.
And Jesse, the incidental budget isn't the same as the contingency budget in this overall plan, right?
The incidental budget is basically like all the little additional things. So you have the main
Right.
ones that you guys approve first.
Right.
And then they have those, the amounts inside of their budgets in case things go over and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So-
But that's not the same as the
That's not the
contingency.
same. Nope, it's
Okay,
not the same.
thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, personnel considerations, 7-1 through 7-25. Is there a motion for one or more?
Motion all.
Ed, motion all. Second, Jackie. Any discussion?
I have just one. I'm assuming or hoping this is a typo. On 7.24, I assume that resignation is effective 8/31/2024, right? This isn't that we're just finding out about someone leaving a year ago? Just to make sure. Okay, so that one
With
just needs to
correction.
be updated. 7.24.
Resignation date shows August 31st, 2023, and it should show 2024.
Yep, that's it. That was all I had.
720 is a.
Do it.
720, I don't have that part pulled up, but it is a retirement, so I just want to acknowledge and thanks to the service of that employee, longtime transportation person. Thank you for your time and taking care of our kids. It's a difficult job driving buses, so we thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Anything else? All right, all in favor? Aye. And congratulations, Mr. Garrity, our new addition to the middle school as assistant principal. Congratulations. All right, Dr. Bailey, we'll turn it over to you.
We have new teacher orientation coming up the last week of August. We have 17 staff so far, and we have a few, and Brian will be joining us as part of the new teacher orientation. It's 2 days where they have an opportunity to learn more about the district, its mission, its values, its goals, talk about targets and action plans, do some professional development, get tours of their buildings, meet with their principals. They meet with the union on that day. They get a bus tour of the district. So it'll be a very enriching day, and 17 is a good number to have. That will also include any staff who started with us after September of last year. You know, we had people who came during the school year, but they didn't have an opportunity to go through this orientation, so we wanted to do that with them as well. I invited the board to opening of school, I think it's the September 3rd, and we anticipate having a full district meeting on the morning of the 3rd. I guess they made it to start about 8:45, but Mike was there last year. Jenny, were you there last year? Somebody else was. That's like the only one I
Can't come to, it's my first day of work
You
too.
have other things.
But I would love to be there.
Jackie.
Yes,
There you
sorry.
go. Was able to come last year. Mike gave an excellent speech to the staff, welcoming them back and inspiring them to have a successful year. But know that all board members are welcome. I did send that in my news and notes to you.
What date is that again?
The 3rd of September, 8:45, we estimate. And as soon as the schedule is solidified, I'll be sure to send it out to everybody. We have sixth grade orientation happening before school. It's the week before school? Yeah. And a number of staff will be assisting with that. And I wanted to ask a question about Board of Ed award ceremonies. We've done it a few different ways, and when the leaders met today, we talked about what is easier for families. The elementary folks said not too late because students have to get home to go to bed. BOE awards.
Oh, the awards, okay, sorry.
And last year, we combined the elementary schools primarily because we were short of meetings in the fall. But one thing that we reflected about today is they're all our students. I know that, Peter B. and Becker, they have their own identities, but the opportunity for the families to be together and celebrate together was valuable. So we would like to continue and have A.W. Becker and Peter B. board awards in the same night this coming year. But the question for the board was, we've done it at 6 o'clock. We've done it at 6:30. We started the meeting at 6, adjourned, and then came back after. And I think last year, maybe we just said, we're going to start in there at 6:30 and then come back and do our meeting. 6:30 is kind of a sweet spot. Families can get home, eat a little bit, grab their children, come back to school for 6:30. 6 is a little tight to do that. And we thought 7 was too late because then it gets into their bedtime. And everybody was awesome last year. I think the longest ceremony was like 27 minutes, and that was the 2 elementaries together. So it's not like it's a long evening for the board or for the families, but do we want to have the ceremonies at 6:30 and figure that we can convene afterward with our regular meeting? Do we want to start at 6, take a break in the middle? What would work best?
I think this past year we started at 6
We did.
and got through whatever agenda items we could, and then broke, went down, came back, resumed where we were. It's a little disruptive to the flow of the meeting, but works overall. It's not a major obstacle.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
What was the reason to put the two of them together too? Sorry, that two
2
elementary?
elementary schools
Yeah.
together. Last year, we only had 1 meeting, October, November, December.
Oh, okay, so we never.
So we put them together because I think the meeting in September was pretty early. It takes a lot to organize it, and we wanted to give the schools time to communicate, so we did October, November, December.
Are you still going to those individual buildings, or they're
We
coming here now?
we do them here,
Oh, okay.
in the auditorium.
If 6:30 is the
Yeah,
best time,
Yeah,
if
it
that's the
seemed to be the
consensus, then
sweet
we'll work around that.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it, thank you.
That's it? All right, Jean?
Just wanted to give an update on our pre-K enrollment. We are full at A.W. Becker. There is 1 student on the waiting list. There are 4 spots available at Peter B. and 1 spot remaining at Circle of Friends. We have those 8 spots there. We ended Discovery Camp and the high school Apex program credit recovery last Thursday. And I don't want to steal any of Tony Lintner's thunder because he'll be presenting on what came out of Discovery Camp. But, kids were exploring fairy tales and cooking and traveling around the world and taking care of our environment. And they learned about the Olympics, and they were on camping adventures, and they did robotics and entrepreneurship. So it was definitely, again, a very full, active 4-week program. Our extended school year for students with disabilities continues for another week and a half. And it goes through till the 16th. And I want to just to give you a little bit of an update about the Apex recovery, credit recovery. We had 17 students who attended for English, and 13 of them successfully recovered credit for those courses. In social studies, 8 of 11 students recovered credit. In math, we had 3 out of our 4 students who attended, and for science, 9 out of 11. And it was varied classes for science, math, for all of those. We've got a number of students who are coming back. We're running some Regents review classes between now and August 19th and 20th when we administer the August Regents. So we're hoping that we're going to see some more credit applied there for those Regents exams. And then the last thing, I put a copy, this came up, I think, on the very first July meeting. This is a very simple, not big numbers, not very, and it's estimated, the cost between a building substitute that we were using with our COVID money compared to a daily substitute who is a certified teacher versus a daily substitute who's an uncertified teacher. And really, the biggest bulk, and the benefits and insurance really is an estimate because it'll depend on if they're a single or a family coverage, but, so I just wanted to put those numbers in front of you. You're welcome.
You can see the data
How
on
many
it.
you
I
can get for
appreciate,
that, yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you pulling this together. It makes a lot more sense that way. Thank you.
And then just the last thing is that we did have the code of conduct updates out for public comment. I have received 0 pieces of input from any community members, so I think we're ready to move. Oh, you,
Supposed to send you. I will send it to you tomorrow.
okay. But we're moving forward. The leadership team spent some time today modeling after. We know that we're going to be a little bit late in getting the actual full codes printed. So we worked on modeling after what the high school had, which is the trifold pamphlet with just some highlights from it to make sure that we can get that into the hands of kids and staff. And of course, any family who requests a full printed copy will have that, but we'll have copies available at the schools as soon as we can get that to print. And that's it.
I don't have a ton tonight, but I do want to mention that we did have a meeting today with the site coordinator, and I kind of alluded to it already. And they are going to be able to finish the driveway to A.W. Becker before the start of school. So they'll be able to mill it down and be able to put a new one towards the end there. We already discussed it. Bill has already spoken to the principal, and he's on board with the timing of them doing the work. So that will be the first part of it. If anybody's gone down Becker's driveway, you know that's the worst part of it.
Can I ask one question about that?
Yeah, of course.
When is that slated to be done? Because teachers will probably start coming in the next couple of weeks to set up classrooms.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
don't
it's
wanna-
gonna be like a phase-in thing, so, I mean, it's gonna start next week. You know, they'll be doing little things here and there. I can't really speak on exactly what day they'll be doing, but the elementary school principal is gonna be sending something out to them to let them know.
With exact dates and such?
It's hard to do exact dates, but timeframes when there'll always be access to the building.
Okay,
If the building's open, there will be access to the building. I guess that's probably the best answer
okay.
to it.
I just know that some teachers might want
Yep,
to
no,
go in and.
I understand. My wife's a teacher and she's already going in.
Right.
So the only other thing I have is tax bills are going to be coming out end of August here, so please look out for those. If there's any questions or you don't get anything by September, you can always look it up online, but also you can also give us a call. We're more happy to print it out for you. We can email it to you, or you know, we can print a copy out and you can come get it. So there's many different ways, but just, I know some people kind of sometimes forget, but, so please look out for those. And that's all I have. Sure.
On the June Treasury report for review, I think I might be ahead of the game a little bit here, but have we closed out the 24 year yet?
We're working on it right now.
It's going on now. So
Yeah,
that would-
yeah, we actually have the auditors coming in. So we don't officially close until they come in and do their external audit. So they'll be coming I think they're coming next week.
So we'll get that at the end of July.
Yeah,
meeting?
once those are done, you'll get, because we're still doing journal entries at
Yeah.
the.
Would it be
closing out.
would it likely be the end of July meeting or first September meeting?
It would probably be, you might get it at the end of August, the next one, you might.
But that's probably relatively accurate.
Yeah,
All right.
yep.
So are we going to have if we ended up in the black, is there a plan for what to do with that?
Oh, yeah, we've
I'll
already
ask that there be a
approved,
plan.
are you talking about for reserves?
Yeah, just.
Yeah,
what
we're
we-
definitely
if
gonna
we
have some excess funds.
That's what I meant.
I can't speak on exactly what it is yet.
Yeah.
But we do have, I am gonna be coming out with a reserve plan that I'm gonna put in front of you guys for plans for the
I
future.
thought I might be a little bit ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, but that will be coming down the line soon. After, I don't like to jump ahead of things.
Yep.
In case the auditors notice something, or we need to make changes. So I don't want to give any hard numbers right
I was
now.
gone for a year, my internal clock's a little bit off, but I
Yeah.
knew it was coming soon, so.
You're retired, that's why, right? Yeah.
Which is
Sure.
the same question I ask all the time. Peter B. Playground, is it done? Is it
Yeah,
completely
the only thing,
finished?
and what I did mention the last time is when,
yeah, wasn't-
so I don't know if anybody was over there after these really big rainstorms and noticed that there's no water there. So the
that's
draining
exciting.
is really working well. So it's doing great. The thing, when they were digging it up and doing the drainage, they did notice that the swings are deteriorating a lot quicker than they thought. So we did order new swings, and those are going to be installed during the school year. They are still safe to use now, but we just want to be proactive with it so we don't have to shut them down. The kids aren't able to swing. So that's the only thing that's not done with the Peter.
But otherwise, it should be good to go for the start of
No,
the
it's
school
good to
year.
go. You can play on it. I know
All
my
right.
kids have been over there, so.
Okay, perfect. I haven't had a chance to pay so much attention as I went by, so I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure that it was good to go for this school year. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll go a little bit out of order, just because we're on the topic of playgrounds. I think the only item in old business to discuss is playground updates. So beyond Peter B., is there anything else?
Becker's committee, we got a new design from our vendor, and we have I believe it's the 15th, we're meeting as a committee to discuss it and review it and see if that's what they would like and what they need.
Okay.
Yes, pre-K, yep. Yep.
Okay. We'll turn to new business then.
The high school course guide selection, and it has the old mission and vision statement. Is that because it went out to print before we had finalized and approved it as a district? Okay, that's what I figured.
So when we, to update the course catalog for the following year, we actually have to have it to print the beginning of October.
Okay, I
So,
figured
yeah.
it was probably, okay. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mel?
Like to bring back up the branding guide. So I had a very long car ride and did a lot of research on best practices in what other districts have done, not only here, but around the country. And what I have discovered is that our nearest two districts have their logo right on the site. So when you pull up Coxsackie's and go to their logo, if you just search logo, it comes right up. And if you go to Bethlehem's, they have not only their logo, but they also have their athletic logo. Do I think that's what we should do? No, probably not. Just have it there for everybody. But I did find in Dublin, Ohio, they have a wonderful, like the guy who wrote the best practices guide, I think they must have either consulted him or followed his plan very, very closely. And if I could get it to pull up, I could maybe show you. But it basically says right on their website that they have a list of things that their community can use the logo for. And they also say what it can't be. So it has to follow the guidelines of all their mission and their vision statements. And then it actually lists out the mission and vision statements and the values that they hold as a community. And it says things that it can't be associated with. It can't be associated with any political parties. It can't be associated with gambling opportunities. It can't be associated with any vulgarity, things like that. So on the website, it doesn't actually give the logo. It gives what you can and cannot use the logo and all the branding, the font, the colors, all of that, what you can and cannot use it for. And then they have a link. And it goes to this very comprehensive, I don't know, 5 or 6 page branding guide. And very similar to my own company, as an independent consultant, what we are given is the logo in all of the acceptable colors, the fonts, the color codes, everything that we could possibly need, because it does belong to the community. It doesn't belong to us, the Board of Ed, you guys as the district. It belongs to the community, the taxpayers. And as I was thinking more and more about all of the people and all of the things that the logo can be used for, if Jenny wants to make her daughter a t-shirt and she has a Cricut at home, she can't even put the logo on without applying for use of the logo. We went through the process of applying to use the logo this last month for PTSO. We were given a start date and an end date of our use. In that time, we thought of 3 other things that we would like to use the logo for, and it seems very silly and a big waste of Michelle's, yours, whoever's overseeing these forms, time to go through every single time a mom wants to put a logo on a t-shirt, or the sports teams. All of their uniforms were ordered, but the coaches now have nothing to wear because there was nothing that came out, and they realized, oh shoot, our first game's in 24 days and we don't have anything as a coaching staff that we can wear. Those kinds of things. So if we had, as a community, a branding guide that gave every acceptable use of the logo, the dimensions, what it can and cannot be, because here's what's happening and what's going to happen, is the people who want to use the logo are going to figure out a way to either use it or make one themselves that's not approved by us. If we want our logo and our brand to be on what we are as a community all the time, and we want this buy-in from the community, we have to give it to them, but we have to be able to set parameters around how we want it used. We put it out there in the resolution that it's supposed to be, the fonts that it's supposed to be, the colors that it's supposed to be, and we put out the full guide. They have to follow that. And if they don't, then we have recourse to say, you didn't use it according to how we put it out there to be used. But if we're not, we are actually running more of a risk for people to just go ahead and do whatever they want with it. So that's my proposition, is that we create something that goes out with our guidelines rather than holding on to it and saying you have to apply every time you want to use it. I also don't think the people within our own district, the business office or the bus garage or anybody, anytime they put out a flyer or want to do something with the logo, should have to apply for it. This is our district, every one of us. Here's my.
Thank you.
Support that it should belong to the community, and there needs to be some middle ground between, like, maybe everybody being able to access it from the website. I looked through the branding guide, it was very extensive, and it was 17 pages, and it had all the different colors you could use, all the different fonts, all the different positions, so I think it needs to belong to the community as well.
And I would absolutely second what you're saying, is that, I mean, people who want to use it, they're going to use it. I mean, people who want to use it, and at least having those kind of things set up in place of like, these are the expectations of it, I think is going to put us in a much better place than, I mean, I could tell you, it would take me, and I don't have a lot of digital content experience, it would take me 10 minutes to recreate that logo. Like if I just like pulled it from our website and redid it, like you can just trace right over it, it really wouldn't take that long. Like with the technology today, it is not hard for someone to just steal it if they want to steal it. If we put it in a format that at least then we have some control of, like, this is how it needs to be, these are the right colors, as opposed to someone, because then also, I mean, if you want it to stick to our exact colors, our exact font, all those kinds of things, if you have people who are kind of doing, you know, like selling their t-shirts outside of the concert, kind of things, you're gonna have it slightly off and you're gonna have it everywhere. You know, you're gonna have people who have a slightly different green, a slightly different yellow, and it's gonna make it a lot more inconsistent. And also, I mean, to your point as well, I mean, we're creating more work for you guys by making everybody apply every single time, especially our PTOs. I mean, I would argue that they should have a standing agreement. But, you know, I mean, they are they're not, what's a PTO gonna use it for that is not appropriate? I would hope we can trust that you guys are pretty solid in doing what's right for the districts. I think that what you're saying makes sense, you know, as opposed to kind of holding it so tight. Like I said, technology these days, it's not hard to recreate a logo really fast. With minimal technology, with free technology even.
And you reminded me of another point that I did want to make. You know, I have a friend in the community who is a mom who's a crafter. Now, she's going to come to our craft fair on September 29th, little plug there, for everybody. September 29th at the middle school. She's going to pay a vendor fee. She is participating in a fundraiser that we are raising money for. And she's also a mom with a very sick little boy who cannot work, and this is the means she's using to support herself. She has 2 children in our district. Someday she will have that sick little boy in this district as well. And I know we discussed last time about people using it for profit, but there's a community member who really, I mean, needs to make that profit and is also contributing to us, and I don't think that that's a bad thing.
It would also help us to, I mean, really get it out there, to sell our new logo. I mean, not that we're selling it, but like to sell it to the community, for it to be more present, that this is who we are. This is, you know, this is the mascot that we have taken on. This is the identity that we have kind of taken on. You know, that's something that we do. You know, I know we've talked a lot about, you know, kind of selling that branding in different ways within the school, but I think that that also opens it up to help selling it to the community. They're a part of it. So I think that again, I think it makes sense. Especially making sure that we have, you know, the guidelines for it and whatnot established. I don't think that a whole lot of people are going to nefariously try to use it for terrible things or make $1 million business off of this by any means. I think that mostly it's gonna be exactly what you're saying. It's gonna be a mom who wants to put it on their kid's water bottle. It's gonna be, you know, somebody who makes a t-shirt for their last day of school. I think you have a lot of crafty people in the districts who probably, you know, want to use it for much smaller things. And, you know, this isn't something where like we have a store set up and somebody stealing this is going to steal all of our profit or, you know, income coming into the district. It's not like we're losing anything by someone else being able to put it on a t-shirt for their kid, or for the PTSO to use it for things. I don't see a huge benefit to us holding on to it so tightly.
Point, Mike, too. I just want to I do definitely support Mel's position. Relatedly, it's not exactly the same thing we're talking about. Related to that whole selling the concept and getting people to buy in and owning the name change. I don't know how they did it, but when Kasaki 2 years, I don't know if it was a grant, so there's some work for you guys to do, or where they got the money for it, but one of the ways they built that community support for the name change, I think 2 years ago when they became Riverhawks, was every staff, every student, they all got, I forget, it was a t-shirt or some branded items. Like everybody in the school got the new Riverhawks logo. So I don't know, like maybe you can talk to the superintendent down there, see how they did it financially, because it's got to be a few bucks. But it was a great way to sell it. So nobody, you know, there's other ways you can do that and people can go buying it, but to really do it, all staff, all students all got, I know it was a t-shirt, I think, and the staff got like a polo. But it was like, hey, this is who we are now. Let's celebrate it. Let's embrace it. Let's move forward. But the district did it and did it from that way. So
Yeah,
again,
and
I don't know how
even
they
if
did
you
it
can't
financially,
do,
but
yeah, shirts could be a lot, but even
well,
if you
again,
could
it's a
do
lot
them
of
as,
people.
you know, like a sticker, like, you know, I mean, I don't know how the district feels about a kid putting a sticker on their laptop, but I'm sure that it happens. You know, encouraging them to put it on their Chromebook that they have and they're carrying around, or on their water bottle, or
whatever
whatever.
has it, you can have
you
it,
know.
and you can have a new Ravens Day, you know,
Thank you.
Ravens Friday
I
or something,
didn't
and everybody wears
know
their
for
gear.
sure that rule,
You know,
I know it
start
happens,
making that
but-
change, as tough as it is. I'd add that piece.
So what's the next step here then?
Melanie, when you were given the branding guide for your company that you work for, did you have to sign an agreement for how it would be used, that you would agree to use it a certain way? Or did they just give it to you because you asked for it?
Well, we sign a consultant agreement. It's not necessarily tied to the branding guide. But once you become a consultant, you have access to the website. you're given access to all the logos.
I think it would be, this conversation would be better suited for the rebranding committee or the communications committee, which we haven't met in a year because we were doing rebranding instead. But it makes sense to have this discussion there. The ideas about how we, continue to promote. And we did talk about it when we met last year, and we have some ideas. I've talked about a few of them. But quite frankly, seeing all the ways that our name and our logo have been misused over the years, we're trying to be conscientious and thoughtful and have people who wanted to use it, representing our district, do so with permission. And we didn't think that was an unreasonable or onerous thing to do. As if, for instance, a junior class is going to do a fundraiser by selling clothes with the branding on it. When we release our branding guide, every company in the country, every company outside of the country can start manufacturing the clothes and selling them. So that's why we're trying to be thoughtful, not because we're trying to stop someone from doing it in an art show, but because we wanted to preserve our brand and protect the people that are trying to do the right thing in representing our students. We're not here to have other people earn money. That's not the purpose of our brand.
But the problem is, the people who are going to do it are going to do it anyway. So that, I saw the fundraiser came out today. It's all over social media already. And the people who go onto those sites, they simply take the preview of those items, because it's a public website, and they then use their own technology to create their own thing. So this is not going to stop those people from doing it. I guarantee you within, because I patrol all of the class Facebook pages, and every time a fundraiser comes out, without our logo being out there, they just copy what's already on the fundraiser, blow it up, and they put it on their own stuff, and they start to spam it out. So it doesn't even come from just a logo on the website. They can do it, they can recreate it right from images on the fundraiser that we're putting out there for good reason. So that's what I'm saying. People, it's the age-old argument, those who are gonna do bad things are gonna do them regardless. But if we can at least make sure that the people who want to use it for good reason can, I think that's a better way to go. But you're right, it probably is a rebranding. I was hoping that maybe that was something that was gonna come out of the rebranding committee, but I wasn't part of that.
So when is the next rebranding committee meeting?
We can hold one.
Okay. Like when? Are we talking a week from now, a month from now, 3 months from now?
Probably not a week from now,
Okay.
because it seems as though people are probably in the four winds.
Yep.
When school reconvenes.
Okay, so what's a reasonable timeframe to set around the next committee meeting?
Second week of school.
I think thinking about this, I don't think it needs to go back to rebranding personally. I think that we're at we went through a lot, rebranding committee, and I understand both sides. We had, the logo was created, taxpayers' money was spent to hire a professional person to make it professional looking. The district the taxpayers own that logo, is the way I look at it. And as, putting it out there, for example, when I had my graduation hood for the graduation regala made, and I went to Binghamton's website, it had the logo, it had the exact colors and the fonts, and so when I called the company to order it, I couldn't match it, I could give it, and they could match it totally. So personally, I think it should be out there. I think we should make it available. This is very good. If the fonts, the colors are there, people can print it, because I think Mel's absolutely right. The people that want to use it are going to use it. If it's out there, you might as well have them putting on the logo the way it should be. If not, they're going to copy it off of a site. They're going to do that, and they're going to be selling it. You're not controlling anything. You're not stopping it from being used. I think the board we just need to decide what we want to do as the district, I think. You can go back to rebranding, but I don't think it has to.
Well, I don't think it needs to go back to rebranding committee for a decision on
Right.
whether we make it available or not. I think that's, at the end of the day, a board decision. But if that's the will of the board, then somebody has to do it, right? And maybe it's the committee that works through that process of what that looks like. So
Timing-wise,
I just want to be clear about what we're sending to the committee, right? We're not sending the question of whether or not we should make the logo more publicly accessible. We're sending a directive that that is the goal we're to achieve, so please formulate a plan, a document to accomplish that.
well, and if that's, I mean, it is relatively time-sensitive. We have sports coming up very, very soon, and coaches are asking for it. So
We haven't denied anybody who's asked us for it who works for the district. So if they'd asked, we would have gladly given it to them.
the problem was it wasn't timely enough, so some coaches already,
I
you
don't
saw,
understand-
the
I don't
football.
understand. Yeah, I don't understand what timely is. We knew in April what it was. They could have just asked. I don't know what the timely problem was. But
I think it was probably misunderstanding, but it was altered already, and I would like to see that not happen. I would like to see people be able to quickly, and if we already have all the brand stuff available, I don't know why it couldn't be put together, a branding guide relatively quickly.
From one of your comments before, you said our former logo and name have been used in some kind of negative way. Can you clarify what has, I'm not aware of any time that has been done. Can you?
used representing the district to run fundraisers that weren't authorized by the district, don't know where the money went, using our logo on websites or social media pages that aren't school affiliated, but it makes them look like they're school affiliated. I know what you're saying, that people will, they'll paste, copy and paste it and use it any way that they'd like. The evil, what did you say, the people who have ill will continue to do ill will, with permission or not, right? Yeah.
Thank you. I was just looking for clarification as to how it may have been used in negative ways so that we have all the
Probably,
information here.
probably one of the more famous ones was, and I'm a board member on a sports association now, but back then, before the sports, right, they did a whole thing with, what were they, poker chips? A whole poker chip gambling thing, whatever, and they had the Indians logo on there, that kind of stuff. That's not appropriate, as one of the things you brought
Right,
up.
yep.
And we had a parent the last 2 years, I just say a parent from a team that has a side business that was, hey, here's all these sales, and 10% will go to the kids, actually through the sports association, even though it's school. And we never saw any of that money. So they were using the school logo district, using the sports association name, and it never went to anywhere but their pocket. So those are the bad things that Dr. Riley's talking about.
Those
I
are the
still
things
think we
that
need to
do
offer it.
have to be called out, for sure.
Right.
I mean, they should be addressed, and they should, there's got to be a way that we can,
But how do we stop that? Whether we put the logo out proactively
You can't.
or we don't?
It-
You
it's-
can't.
I don't know that maintaining a tight grip on the logo changes any
Did
of
we,
that.
what was our position on the previous logo? I mean, was there anything? Was there a branding guide? Was it the same sort of process that there's approval, or is this new with our new logo?
There was a branding guide, and it was shared with vendors that we were working with. Other than that, people who asked for it, they were given like what the logo is that they needed.
I know.
Okay, so I guess,
Once it was given one person, everybody had it.
right, but I guess then, I mean, to that end, if it happened before under similar sort of circumstances, then like us holding on to this isn't going to prevent any of the situations that occurred with our old logo.
So I think what we need to do is we need to move forward with how we're going to get it out to them. And that's what the committee would need to be in charge of. Is
Well,
that what we're thinking, or?
my
don't
only
think there's any
hesitation with
issue with
sending this
Chicago.
to committee
I understand what the board
is,
asked. I understand.
right, so if we can not send it to committee for efficiency purposes, because my experience, not just here, but in life in general, is once something gets sent to committee, it stays in committee. It gets bogged down in committee. We've got the school year starting, we've got a new logo. Like Melanie said, let's celebrate, let's put it out there, let's own it. So if we can short circuit this somewhat, I mean, we've got a meeting coming up in 3 weeks. If there's I don't want to say there's like a final product, but if there's a concept of what this might look like, maybe we can have a presentation at that point. on the 28th?
27, 28, yeah.
Yeah, as a next step?
Perhaps Melanie can share that.
I
that
was
document
just going to
with-
say the
with the
exact
committee
same words.
members, yeah.
I would be happy to share everything that I gathered in the process to show you.
And not telling anybody what time they have to do jobs and stuff, but that one that Mel was mentioning from Dublin, Ohio is a great example. You know, we already have all the information, we just got to decide, you can just copy that one essentially.
Right, exactly. We don't have to recreate the wheel
I
here.
don't think it needs to be
Really,
17
really well
pages,
done.
but it's very thorough.
Well, it seemed like they had a lot more choices in colors and logo styles that
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that we would need to
Exactly.
have.
Yeah.
So I think you could
They
eliminate some
had
of those
like, if you
pages
put it
off
in
the
a
bat.
circle, this is what it would look like.
Right.
If you put it in a banner, this is what it would look like. Like, they were very thorough.
Right,
I
but we
don't
can
know
use
that-
it as a general kind of template of, like the language, even the sort
Mm-hmm.
of the guidance, just to make sure that obviously it's still in line with what we would want, but like making sure, I'm sure that their obscenity sort of things, no relation to alcohol or drugs or anything like
Right,
that. Like, I'm sure that they're all going to be pretty consistent from one school district to another. I mean, obviously, we would review, but I would assume that branding guide can probably be a good jumping off point for all of those kinds of things.
So to clarify, we want to move forward with making it available, like similar to the branding guide that Mel's talking
Absolutely.
about for everybody.
I do.
And, okay, so that's what, the direction we want to go, and then maybe that can be shared with Dr. Bailey, that guide, and maybe then something could be put together for the 28th board meeting? Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody?
Sorry. One old business item.
I have a new business item, but
We're still a new business.
are we still in new business?
We are a new business. Yep.
Okay, I don't know how to say this. Is there a field trip budget for the high school? Okay, so that each grade or whatever has their own budget, or is it just the high school as a whole? Okay, and then is there any kind of budget district-wide for bringing in assemblies from the community at large to any of the 4 buildings?
There's a contractual code that we can use for any service to come in, so I would think that would fall under that.
What did you call it, a contractual code?
Yeah, so any like services.
And is that, how would I look to determine what that is? Like, is that,
I can tell you, I don't know it off the top of my head right now, but I can definitely bring that to you guys.
okay, I'm fairly involved in the PTA and the PTSO, and I will now have a high schooler, so I'll be involved in high school as well, and I would like to see how to move forward with making sure that some of those things happen for them. So, perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. And again, going forward, just when there's questions in advance, just send them to us first so we can bring it up as new business, like that, for example. If we bring that up before, might have information to present in response to the question. So just going forward, it's a little shift in how we do things. So send the items to me and we'll push it into new business or answer it between meetings if appropriate. Jackie, you said you had an old business item?
On the old business, I just wanted to check in on where we are with the temperature situation in the elementary and the high school rooms, as at least I know the long-term plan that we've discussed, but I wanted to loop back on what sort of the at least Band-Aid fixes so that we have something in place that those classrooms are usable at the start of the school year.
So we looked into different scenarios. One being just putting in a regular AC unit in there. That wouldn't even touch it. We also looked at getting industrial-sized ones, which would be too loud. You couldn't even keep a classroom in there. So unfortunately, at this time, there is no short-term solution. We've already, other than moving, if it gets over a certain temperature, having that class in a different spot. We have already started with the vendor to get the process going to make sure that, because there is a long lead time to get that permanent solution in there. So we right away said this is a priority, needs to be done as soon as possible. So those are being ordered as we speak to get that fixed as soon as possible.
So you said, I mean, the potential for needing to find sort of a different space for those classrooms, but I know that space is pretty limited. We run into spacing issues all the time. So what is that plan? We've got 2 classrooms in both elementary schools that have a substantial amount of like materials and equipment that they have to use in order to perform those classrooms.
Yeah.
You know, art supplies and music instruments are not exactly things that are super easy to just quick move to another room.
That's a discussion with the principals.
Okay, but I've been talking about this for over a year, so I wanted to make sure, have those discussions happened? What is the plan? School starts in 4 weeks, and it could be 100 degrees on the first day of school.
We will have a plan in place by the first day of school.
And related-
I'm very
No,
concerned
you're
that
right.
you're just giving that answer, and we're a month from school, and really there's not a plan here. This has been going on, from what I understand, for many, many years, this issue. And I brought it up over a year ago, so the fact that there's not a plan in place 4 weeks before school is concerning to me.
When you brought it up, we made it a priority in the construction project, and that's where it is. They're gonna resolve this. The buildings have been sitting there in their current condition, and those classrooms have for more than 50 years.
I know.
And
And the
we're
teachers,
very-
from what I understand, have brought this up on a number of occasions well before I did, well before I sat in this seat. And it's concerning to me because, again, we have students that have IEPs that require them to not have overheated classrooms, and their regular classroom is set up with that, but every single student in those elementary schools go into the music classroom and go into the art classroom. These are classrooms that can't just sit that way. It's concerning to me that like it's taking this long to find any solution, and really we're coming up on another school year that we're gonna walk into that first day of school where beginning of September, thankfully today it's nice and cool, but often the first day of school is hot all the way through that building, and these classrooms are unusable. It's concerning to me that we are this far and there's not even a plan for where else they might be
We're,
in that
the
time.
remediation that Jesse talked about is more than $10,000 for a temporary solution
Right.
for the first 3 weeks of school,
But we need a different temporary solution then.
which is moving students to another classroom. It's in the construction project, which was not approved early enough for that work to happen this summer.
I know, so a different solution should have been found by now. That's my concern.
I had a question. I thought,
Like a temporary solution should have been found by now.
let me just back up for a minute. I thought a couple months ago that we had found a temporary solution. There was some type of heating coil or something that could have been put in those units.
That's not a temporary solution, that's a long-term solution.
That's a lot, so in those, but it was too expensive? Is that what it?
No, we're doing it. It's just 8 weeks out to order them.
Right, from
Okay,
our previous
okay.
meetings, it sounds like it's like October by the time.
Well,
that all-
I do know, I mean, you weren't here last meeting, right? Yeah, and
Correct.
so when Schoolhouse was here, the construction manager, he was talking about Freon in different units, and as of that day, they could no longer take orders for certain units. And the next type of Freon, they weren't taking orders till next January. So there could be a delay and a whole.
Right, no, I certainly understand that there could be delays. My concern is that if we are talking about that the Band-Aid option here is to find a different space, we are 4 weeks from school. We need to find that space. We should have that, if we are saying that the alternative right now is that we will put those folks into a different space when necessary, then you have to have a space.
And
You
we
can't
will.
just say, we will put them in a space and not have a plan for what that space is, when we already have discussed on a number of times spacing issues in our district.
Yeah, so related, I don't want an answer right now, but in the state budget and just, so you know, it's probably 25 years. I have a folder right on my computer here for those rooms for 25 years. We've been trying to find solutions for a long time. The state budget, there was, the unions have pushed for a long time to get a high temperature. We have a low temperature is below, you have to leave. I believe there's now a high temperature one. Have you guys gotten any, don't need an answer now. Have you gotten any guidance, and maybe for the next meeting, what you guys have heard from your groups as to how that's going to look? Because yes, it passes now a maximum temperature for classrooms. One of the solutions is to put them into another location, but last I knew, there wasn't any real clear from that law, like what had to happen. So maybe for the next time, you can find that out and let us know.
I can't speak for what Dr. Bebb, what I've heard is there is a lot of questions on where you take the temperature, right? Because if I put a temperature reader in the middle of the room and the sun shines on it, or vice versa, so there's a lot of questions out there.
Right.
That we're looking for answers, so we do it correctly. So
Right.
that's as far as I know at this
Right.
point.
Yeah, but if you're different groups, like superintendent's group
Yeah,
or
yeah, so
business
that's all
administrative
I've heard
groups,
from my group.
you know, Mrs. Smith, if the unions, if NICED's coming up with anything.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you
that-
do
that's
hear
gonna help get
anything-
to that solution, because now it's a state requirement, that's the whole reason. I
Right,
bring it up.
sure.
Can I ask a question? Is it, back when we were in school, the music traveled like with a cart and everything, is there something with the teacher contract that it can't be in their own rooms? So
That
the teachers move
they-
instead of the,
That's what they've been doing for the past few years, is as necessary, they've done that. But that cuts into the classroom teachers' planning time or lunch or whatever space they had. With the art teacher, I know it also becomes a concern because some teachers are more picky than others about how messy their classroom can get, and art projects can become messy.
It's very limiting.
And, you know, the music teacher or the art teacher then has to kind of pack all that stuff up onto a cart. They don't have their own space throughout the day, and they're moving, and they only have limited time to then move between classrooms
Okay,
in
that
between
makes
every session.
It also greatly limits the curriculum too, because there's only so much you can bring with you.
Right, right, and it's
but it's
impacting those other
short-term,
teachers too,
theoretically,
who
right? It's only
rely
a
on that
couple of weeks.
time.
I mean, not that I want to inconvenience teachers at all, but that,
I believe that has been kind of this, from what I've been told, that has been somewhat of the solution thus far, but it also brings on its own set of problems.
So more information to come at the 20th meeting? That we should anticipate, okay. All right. No other business on the agenda?
No.
Anybody has anything
I mean,
else?
just along with that, I'm sorry, I want to make sure that the high school's issue on heating is also considered in that situation. I'm obviously more focused on the elementary ones that are talked about, but I know you've mentioned the high school has similar problems in certain areas.
I have numbers for that if you'd like them. Yeah, so I did push after our last meeting, really saying, hey, I need numbers for this. So a very broad number, he did it in about a couple weeks, so this wouldn't be a dead set number. And we do have a question out to them about if the electricity needs to be upgraded to be able to do this. And this would be very similar to what's happening in the elementary school. But they're saying about 13,000 per classroom to do that coil univent. So it's about, let me just pull up, I don't want to misstate. So about 350,000 for the high school upstairs. And that's, again, that's assuming that there's enough electrical power in the building to support that.
Okay. So are these,
No, they haven't answered, Bill, they asked Bill a question that he forwarded on to our engineers today, and I haven't got a confirmation yet back from them yet about that. And when I do hear more information, I'll let you guys know.
so are these cooling coils, or are they comparable to an air conditioning system?
I can't, I'm sorry, I can't give you too much detail about them. According to Bill, they will be able to efficiently cool the spaces that they're in.
Listen, you may not have an answer, just hearing what they're talking about. Is that in all the classrooms or the class, like the science classrooms that have the larger univents already at the high school?
The number of classrooms they said on the second floor, you said 23 rooms.
Yeah.
So I'm
second
assuming
floor.
that sounds like the majority of
Probably
them.
majority, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause the
But
ones
there's
that-
more than one univent in those larger
Yeah, in
classrooms, so you would have.
2004, when we did the project,
Yeah.
not to stretch this, the science rooms, because of the materials we have in there, were given similar to what the middle school have in terms of the taller univents.
Oh, okay.
And they were supposed to have air conditioning. At the time, it got value engineered out. So that may still well be the cost to update those, but yeah, I don't know how they do it in the smaller ones, but I'm sure they have a way. Thank you, sorry.
So if there's a project that is in that ballpark, $350,000, what are the options for moving forward with that?
I mean, for that price point, I would recommend it being a capital project, so we can get the aid on it. I know we're gonna need to do a capital project going forward in the coming years. I think that might be something we can look at, to see, if it would fit into future plans. I wouldn't recommend doing it outside of a larger capital project at that price point.
Because that would not be aidable?
We wouldn't get aid on it.
Yeah. So this would likely be in a capital project scheduled 2, 3, 4 years in the future?
I don't think I don't want to put a time frame on it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to do one here soon because that football field's gonna have to be replaced, track, and there's a lot of other maintenance stuff that needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, in a few years, down the line, few years.
Is there any other, I know it would be better off doing it as part of a bigger project, but like you said, there's other maintenance items and things. For example, did we just do would we just have asked the voters to approve 500,000 for the transportation? So that was a smaller one. There's a possibility that there's some maintenance items, maybe in the $200,000-300,000 range that you could pull with this? And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
send
absolutely. I mean, if
something like
that's
that,
something-
that could speed it up?
Yeah, absolutely. The only issue is, I mean, there's different ways to pay for it, right? I mean, you would have to look into bonding it, or we do have a capital reserve if it's, something that you guys are interested in looking at as well.
So there's other options possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But
We should definitely
Look into it.
look at our building condition survey as we take this under consideration too, because if a roof is about to collapse on a building, that's when we're
Right,
thinking of
right,
using that
right.
money.
you also have to take into account that a project like this, it's still got to go through SED and all that kind of stuff. So if
Correct.
we do have other things that we want to add on to it, if we're going to put it through, we might as well do it with a couple other things if they need to be done.
And if we're going to do it for the high school, we should also consider it for the elementary schools, not just the art and the music, but also the upstairs in those buildings? Or
Yeah,
are
so
they?
what we've said in these other meetings is we are already, when we're putting in these new unit events, they have the capability to have these coils. There is a lot more to it. We have to do piping and there's got to be condensers and all that kind of stuff to be able to make it efficient and make it work. But that is something we're looking forward in the future.
Okay. Anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Any hearings and petitions, any?
What?
Have any hearings and petitions?
What's that?
Do we have any hearings
No.
and petitions?
No. Motion to adjourn? Jackie, second, Jenny? All in favor? Aye.
Sue,
All right, thank you.
Sue brings them up here.